Okay, so I've marked for the 10 scripts that I received. You should have gotten your feedback, see how you have fared for this type of question. So let's take a look at the question itself. Okay, remember, given the paper is coming up soon, I'll make sure that at the very least we are on the right path interpreting the question. Answers, I'm pretty sure you can get it from just reading through your textbook. Okay, but there are certain exam tips that I really want to share with you. For example, if you recall, there are the 6 things for you to look out for when you're answering a geography exam question. The time you spend planning will mean, at the very least, the time that you spend writing won't be wasted. So never start without planning first. Don't just assume you know the answer and straight away start writing. Always do the following steps. So step 1, for example, is command word. Once you've determined what's the command word, then the topic. Third question is, what's the scope for this? I'm not going to ask you to just regurgitate everything. Then fourth one is how many points, or maybe not how many points, need evidence or examples, right? And again, I mentioned put question mark because not every question require it, but sometimes putting it means you get the marks. Then how many points to write, which for this type of question I've asked before, means you take a look at the number of marks and you also look out for the end. Is there anything to divide the question into parts where each part must be addressed? Then lastly, you take a look and have you answered the question. So these are the 6 things that you need to go down the list of before you attempt the question. Really important for you to do so, because otherwise you're going to write stuff that's completely irrelevant. So let's see how to apply that into the context of the following 4 questions. Okay, so first one, this is the SCDF on fire safety tips, not trips, tips. Okay, so you can see that they've given advice on how to avoid fire. Yeah, but the question is not asking about avoiding fire. See, let's go through the 6 question, right? Explain is a command word. Explain means you need to give me the E plus L. Means you must elaborate and it must link towards something. Okay, so the topic here in this case is fire hazards. So this is the topic. So you already know fire hazards. What are the things that you should have learned? Then in this case, the scope is causes and common household fire hazards. So this is the link. You must talk about how it eventually leads in fires in a household context. So if you were to bring in, say, forest fire and stuff like that, obviously not relevant, right? You have to argue towards showing how it results in households catching fire. Then this question, specifically the topic, is on causes, not impacts. So there is at least one of you, I think you know who you are, who end up writing about what's the impact, right? People get burns, people get confused because of the gas that they breathe in, get them to be dazed and they get themselves more susceptible to fire injuries or smoke inhalation that damages the lung. Alright, so as we address the causes, so then we need to know how to argue, how to write our points. Okay, again, explain means E plus L. So those are the few things. Then what's the next question, right? You need evidence. So you can see here, right, using figure 2. So for sure you need evidence. But there is a trick that I want to highlight this to you. Something that is only relevant in the context of your syllabus. I mean your seniors, it doesn't even apply. Okay, so they're being very, very nitpicky about how they use certain terms. For example, as shown in, and mind you, I would like to see this recorded in your corrections, as shown in figure 2. That means you cannot use anything else. Everything, all the points must be from figure 2. Must be from the source, whatever it is, a graph lah or whatever. Okay, but if they were to say instead using or with reference to figure 2, that means you can refer to figure 2, but again the figure 2 won't necessarily have everything for you. So that means you can bring in majority of the points from source. Okay, so this is advice number 1 for question phrasing. Question, especially evidence use. Okay, so first piece of advice. Again, I'm tracking, so I want you to see first one and second one. So this expression, it matters a lot. It would actually tell you whether or not need evidence or don't need evidence, or rather how many points that need evidence. In this case, right, for next thing after seeing evidence, 5 mark question, that means at least 3 points must come in with evidence. 2 more points, it can be any other relevant one that result in household fires. Yeah, or of course if you can give me all 5 from here, it's also perfectly fine if you can. But the thing is, I'm telling you this so that if you stuck, right, you take a look and you cannot think of what else to give, you can come up with points of your own and still get the marks. Okay, so then let's take a look. Okay, so after that, right, 5 points ready. Then lastly, answer the question. Did you? Okay, so let's take a look at the source itself. Ready to answer the question? Say for example, things such as outlets switch off when not in use, or replace loose wiring. This one are the things that will cause electrical fires. Right? Flammable item or leave cooking unattended. Right? This one will eventually lead to the thing boiling over, the oil boiling over, will result in grease fire. Okay, then after that, keeping flammable things away from children, maybe, I don't know whether you can think of one, but at least extinguishing embers before discarding. That's also an example that we learned about, right? Rubbish fires. Okay, so if you can see here, these 3 points very clearly is derived from the source. From these points, if you just write down, oh, this will result in, say for example, cooking unattended will result in grease fire, would that get you a mark? Obviously not. Okay, so let's take a look. Alright, by the power of magic, let's take a look at these 3 samples. Okay, so this is, again, because our focus for today's lesson is on exam skills. If you see leave cooking unattended, this is from the source, right? It's not a tip. Rather, the question is asking you what's the cause of the fire. This will be evidence. Then, it will cause grease fire. Take a look. If you were to see this as an exam answer, right, do you think you get the mark? Okay, this kind of thing means you have stated using evidence. Okay, then we move on to take a look at the next answer. Next answer, leave cooking unattended, again is evidence. But this one stated grease fire, but this time round you can see that it's elaborated. What's the big deal about grease fire? Challenging to put out with water, causing it to spread. So this one very clearly talking about household, right? So this will be the link. Like this, you may be able to get the mark, but truth be told, this type of answer is more describe. Okay, in order for you to explain, you can see here, this is the evidence. You can see cause grease fire, this is the name of it, the type of fire. Oil boils over as in contact with the fire, this is the E, the process that results in the fire. Challenging to put out with water, causing it to spread, the thing that results in an outcome where it causes the household fire. So this is the E and the L. This is an explanation. This is the one correction I would like you to please write down. Okay, so I want you to keep in mind again, you can pause anytime for you to write down the correction. Keep in mind the command words that we will see. There's a lot. State, describe, explain, evaluate. These are the 4 types of command word that you will see. What do I mean by 4 types? This means the further down the scale, the more you're expected to write to make your points clear. State is like one word answer. You know, other things like name, identify, or list, or whatever it is. I'm not saying this is the only command word. There are a few, but the expectation is just like state. One word, 1 mark. Describe means you must elaborate a bit. And explain means I need E plus L. Okay, so without any E plus L, you won't be able to get the mark. So you can see, right, as you go down the list, you need to write a bit more to get the mark. So this length, this is 1 mark's worth. Which is also why we don't just use the word explain in every single question in an exam. Otherwise people will die. Right, there will be always a variety. Alright, so keep in mind that that is what is expected for you. Hopefully you've done 1 correction. Then do the rest, do the same for the rest lah. Okay. So then we go into the question below, which is talking about graph change over time. Okay, it says figure 3 shows the road accident statistics in Singapore. The command word, the question here, command word first being describe. In this case, the topic is talking about traffic fatality, but you can see from this question phrasing, do you need to bring in any content at all? No. So topic, but topic you don't need to use. Rather, you don't need to regurgitate any information at all. Scope, what are you looking out for? Trends specifically, because they are looking out for more than one. So that means one trend won't be able to get you the mark. Next point, shown in figure 3, so must be from source. Yeah, as we talked about just now, shown in versus with reference to. Okay, last thing, then you take a look at how many marks is there for you to write. This is a 3-mark question, so you need to give me at least 3 points. Okay, so then let's take a look at the source itself before you answer the question. Right, road traffic fatality per 1,000. This is the unit. You can see a lot of you, you lost the mark because you didn't give the proper unit. Okay, First, let's take a look at this graph, which is talking about change over time. The silly thing that I still see in more than half the class is the same lower sec geography mistake that I've seen before, which is you end up listing. What do I mean by listing? Oh, this one go up and then this one go down. Then this one go down some more. Then it go up a bit and then it go down some more. Right? So effectively you're writing a whole long story which won't get you anything at all anyway. So you can see, right? No marks. It's not like last time for lower set geography I can still go, oh yeah, you're listing very cute lah. You still at least being able to see the line. You can give me numbers. I can still give you the mark. Now no more. Now it's upper set. So you list, you're going to lose the marks. Don't throw it away unnecessarily, please. So these are the things that you should already have been familiar with. Because I can see in some of you, you are able to reproduce this. First thing for you to look out for is general trend. Okay, more than half of you are able to tell me generally this is a decrease. Okay, from 2009 to 2020, it decreased 0.67 to 1.49 every 100,000 people. Okay, so this is what's needed in order for you to get the mark. Simple, straightforward. That's the fact that you say it's decreasing. You give me the evidence from the x-axis and from the y-axis with the proper unit. Because you imagine it cannot be a traffic accident of 3.67%. How do you find a 0.67% to get run down? Okay, so it's 3.67 every 100,000 people. Okay, so first point is general trend. Then the second point, which I think one of you managed to get, is this one. We're talking about the steepest decrease or the largest decrease. Okay, you give me plus evidence, decrease by how much or decrease from how much to how much, then you can get the point. Then last point is, so this is point number 1. Point number 2. Point number 3 is talking about these instances where there are anomalies increasing in traffic accident. So from what year to what year, by how much, and from what year to what year, by how much. So the two anomalies. This is point number 3. Okay, so these are where the points go to. This is not the only points, of course. There are a few other things that you can talk about, but when it comes to change over time graphs, but at the very least, these 3 are the most direct from this source. And for a 3-mark question, these are what's required of you. Okay, quite a number of you managed to get 2 marks, either 2 marks or 2 points. The thing that killed you is the unit. Okay, so if you didn't manage to get that, yeah, you definitely need to look out for this. Okay, next question. Suggest reasons for the traffic hazards resulting in traffic fatality in Singapore. Common word suggest, which is equivalent or similar to describe, where you need to elaborate. You cannot just say, oh, because people stupid. Right? You need to elaborate. How does this result in this and stuff like that. Next one, topic, traffic fatality. Scope. Topic. This is also the topic. We're talking about causes, not effects. Okay. Then when it comes to wrong. Okay. Then we talk about resulting in traffic fatality in Singapore. So this is the link. This is the scope. Okay, so you need to be able to tell me why in Singapore. But again, I'm not expecting you to memorize statistics of Singapore. At the very least, be able to tell me why in city, urban area like Singapore, there will be high traffic fatality. Okay, again, I'm planning still. So I'm trying to note down as many things as possible before I begin. How many marks is this? 4-mark question. Okay, so you take a look at this, right, for 4 marks. So I need to give 4 reasons. So what are the reasons I can think of? This is urban, so high concentration of roads and cars. So there will be a lot more opportunity for accident to happen. Yeah, we can also talk about the fact that there is higher life expectancy. So therefore, there are more elderly, which is slow reaction time. We can also talk about the fact that there is higher population density. Then there is also the irresponsible driving, of which there are many ways you can talk about irresponsible. Right? You can say things such as people who are drunk driving, people who are speeding. But please don't tell me you're just going to focus only on irresponsible driving. I think about 3 of you got maximum 2 marks because you talk everything about irresponsible driving only. Yeah. So these are for 4 marks. That's the 4 things that I want to write about. Then I start writing. Again, the focus is, you can see, right? If I plan and I'm able to write all this, very clearly when it comes time to actually writing, I don't need to write so many things to get the mark because I know exactly what I need to say. Okay, and remember again, link is to traffic fatality. So let's take a look here. Okay, one sample sentence here. One of the reasons is a higher life expectancy in Singapore, meaning more elderly with slower reaction time, thus more traffic fatality. If I just say, oh, there are more elderly, therefore more fatality, this is state. Right? With more traffic fatality, this is just the link to the question, but still doesn't mean you elaborate. So what's the elaboration on elderly? There, this is the elaboration. In order for me to secure the suggest command word expectation. Okay, so if all else fail, the advice that I can give you is, if you look at the command word and you don't know what length is expected of you, then please by all means assume higher rather than assume lower. Yeah, if you don't know, don't ever assume, oh, it's just state. So I just say, oh, irresponsible driving cause all these traffic hazard. That's state, and that won't get you any mark in this context. Okay, so now what my question is, because one of you brought up an example, like how many traffic accidents there are in Singapore because of certain reason. Can you get a mark for it? Question never say any example, right? But this is for your syllabus specifically. Okay, so the second exam advice, if the question doesn't specify it, meaning the question not saying using evidence or anything like that, right? It's just whatever you memorize about something. If you have example to support, supporting example can get you 1 mark. Can get you 1 mark. So it has to be something that is used. Remember, imagine in an essay setting. It's not just example means for example Singapore, full stop. Not enough. I need to know example meaning must have name plus relevant fact or figure. Okay, and it has to be used, meaning it has to be in a sentence that is used to illustrate something. It's not just, for example, Singapore 100 accident, full stop. What's the point? Okay, so you need to elaborate something about it. Okay, so it has to be used to answer the exam question, then you can get the mark. So yeah, you can actually get the mark. One of you did manage to, I can't remember exactly who, but one of you did manage to. Alright, so again, I'm not giving you all the reasons. I'm not going to write everything for you. I'm writing down one. I expect this to be done in your corrections. I've given you a few other points, so if you end up with 0, I'm expecting you to write down more things lah for your corrections. Yeah. Last question is this. It's talking about the Nation Green Nation Pledge. So the question here, command word is discuss as a command word, meaning explain, meaning E plus L. But discuss also means you need to give E plus and E minus. It can be 2, 2, 1, 3, whatever it is. Okay. Topic wise, environmental sustainability in an urban neighborhood. Now I want you to recall, where have we talked about environmental sustainability before? This is challenging because this doesn't just come from one place. Okay, environmental sustainability comes from topic 2.1. Remember, environmental sustainability, we have the protect the nature spaces, we have the recycling and the blah 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 blah. Then you also have 2.4 where we talk about environmental stewardship. Yeah, so these are the two ways, 2 areas, 2 domains where we actually learn, 2 topics where we learn environmental sustainability in an urban neighborhood. Okay, so this is the content. Then the scope, you're going to talk about effectiveness. So it's not just talk about what you memorize or how is it done. Rather, you're supposed to show whether is it effective or not. So this is the scope. Shown in figure 4, for sure you need evidence. And for a 4-mark question, so like I said, it could be 3, 1, 2, 2, whatever it is. Okay? Alright, so let's go into the actual points itself. Now that you already know, right? Again, in planning. So these are the points that you can talk about. So here you got waste management, the recycling one. Right? We have the energy efficiency one, or the water efficiency one. We have the protecting natural spaces. Then we also have environmental stewardship. So these are the 4 points that you can talk about. Not everything is relevant because it must be shown in figure 4 lah. Yeah, so then we take a look. In this case, figure 4. Oh, there you go. Energy efficiency. Oh, there you go. Recycling. Right? Then after that, the fact that there's a pledge, that means you're going to, what you call it? Educated. Get educated. On the. So this is the environmental stewardship. Okay, then we also have the fact that there is the hashtag, which quite a lot of you jumped on, which is perfectly fine, about spreading awareness. So these are the few points that you can talk about for the E pluses. So here got plus, here got plus, here got plus, here got plus. So if you write all 4 of this, how many marks will you be able to get? 3. Because my command word again is discuss, so minimum needs 1 minus. So you can talk about the environmental stewardship. What's the negative of it? Okay, things such as, for example, people who don't have the time to take part in this, right? Or they just promise but they never actually do anything about it, something like that. So what's a limitation of it? Okay, so these are the points. I'm not going to go through the answers. I'll write one sample for you. You should already know by now I've been going through the E plus L a couple of times already. And in this context, can I give example to get the mark? Remember just now I said, right? Sometimes you give example, you can get a separate mark, not a bonus mark like that. So if you see here, this question does, however, specify shown in figure 4. So example, no marks. So you can say whatever you memorize, you write down about the public-private partnership and blah blah blah, doesn't mean you get a separate mark for this. Okay, so it has to be relevant to the source. Okay? Alright, so this is it. This is the video that I want to go through. Hopefully this has been sufficient to help you prepare as well for tomorrow's TA. So again, don't take this lightly. But yeah, all the best for tomorrow. See you guys.